It appears to be alive. Welcome, viewers, watchers of the Legends. Another episode of Legends of the Drowned Isles, a homebrew D&D 5th edition campaign, largely falling out of my brain and into the wonderful laps and characters of my players around the table. I'm Mark, the Encaffeinated One. Episode 26, which is not a particular milestone, but it feels kind of nice. Hopefully you're able to hear this okay, and hopefully you can hear all of this okay. If not, we won't know until later, so maybe we'll put subtitles on or something. I've introduced myself and I'm flailing around, so why don't I introduce my players? I'd rather have them introduce themselves, starting over here.
Hi, I am Jody. I'm going to be playing Clarg, the half-orc fighter rogue, and yeah, I think it's going to be a great time. We'll see. Tune in.
Hi. I play Alzera, the Widow of Druid, and I'm choosing spells. So, because leveling.
So many spells.
Oh, so many spells. I can't make decisions.
It's also you have them all, so...
I have them all, and I have to make decisions by the day. It's so...
Well, my name is Pat. I'm playing Ironbound, a bard ranger roguish person. And as a bard, I don't have to ever pick spells. I have all my spells all the time.
I'm Nax, and I'm playing Zakis, half-elf wizard. And I have picked spells. Yay. For once, it feels like I have my shit together.
Do you want to pick spells for Clark? Just, you can't cast them.
Oh, he's got a few in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Punch other guy, get out of the way.
I don't know if that's a spell.
Lay low.
Lucille.
Yeah.
He casts
Lucille is...
You do cast Lucille pretty well.
It's a cantrip for him, though, so
That's
I don't really
true.
count it against the list.
Well, as we begin, now I still struggle. Would I say owns or OVVNS? Is there a preferred pronunciation?
I mean, whatever you want. The joke was owns. Technically, it's OVV, but thanks to the magic of kerning, it looks like owns.
Okay.
Could also be Sodalitas.
Oh, Sodalitas. I'll try to remember that one. In any case, to catch you up on you might have missed from last session, but I think it was a good session to go watch. So, you just pause this, except if you're streaming live. I will get going here with a little recap. With combined effort, the group managed to wedge the gigantic, heavy pillar of bone, as they came to discover, into the bag of holding. The bag's contents were emptied out and redistributed, but the bag suffered a little stress at its seams, making it slightly unstable. A milky white light continues to leak from the bag, the energy of the object contained within spilling out. Owens found the Temple of the White Priests, which turned out to be a temple of Mnemosyne. They met with Speaker Valis, who welcomed them on the steps and led them within the strange, elongated interior to meet the High Priestess, Polema. Polema appeared to be an ancient elf and spoke in a withered voice, but welcomed them in and tried to answer to her best effort some of the questions the group had. Alzera was disturbed, however, by the flood of memories evoked about her fiancé from the taste of the rare thornberry tea. To answer their questions more, Polema led them to a wall of carved images, each depicting elements of the history of the Shadow. There they witnessed the tragic tale of love and jealousy played out. It appeared that the Lord of Shadow, a devil named Baturo, once loved and was apparently loved by the goddess Poluxia, but Ignis was jealous and took her from Baturo's reach. As the world was populated by creatures and beings, this world was populated by demons, devils, and the dead. Later, as Baturo mourned the loss of connection to Poluxia, openings appeared in the shadow, through which severed parts of Poluxia were thrown. Baturo took to fashioning beings from these parts, but later seemed to retire from motion altogether. Meanwhile, other forces took his defunct mirror from him. At the end of this telling, Polema vanished, presumably elevating beyond the shadow to wherever souls go next. And there we have our gathered heroes, now alone in this hallway in the temple.
That's a lot of information.
I think we lost our guide.
I think we did.
As you look around, Polema is nowhere to be seen.
Where did she go?
I
Back
don't
to her
remember
seat?
where we parked.
You're just around the corner from the central area, and if you poke your head in, you see that it is empty.
Okay.
There's a concerned cat. I don't know if anybody at home heard that. They have a wandering cat that makes noise.
I think that was the first time that she's meowed during a
Possibly,
stream,
yeah.
though. That-
Yeah.
We will occasionally hiss at her, but she doesn't usually speak all that much.
Moment that needs to be appreciated. Anyway.
These images are concerning.
Hmm? Why?
Well, Peturo, our friend Amrun, was following Polexia. All along we thought Peturo was the being of great evil, and here they seem to be in love.
Hmm. Love is strange.
I agree.
I thought my family's drama was complicated.
As the moment of silence drags on and people stare at these strange images trying to interpret what it means, you hear a voice behind you. Speaker Valet stands behind you.
Hi.
Are you all right? You've been
Yes.
standing here for about an hour.
Your friend disappeared.
Where did she go?
Disappeared.
Yes.
Oh,
I thought she had returned to her quarters as we were taking in
well, I
the
haven't
view.
seen her, but and he pauses for a moment, and then a smile breaks across his face. She's free. Not something easy to do here, but
She's left the shadow?
I think so.
How?
Virtue, patience, staying away from everything for a long time.
We don't have that much time, do we?
I would imagine that if she was showing you this, then she was trying to tell you maybe something she's been wanting to tell people for a long time. I've heard the stories, of course, of what's carved here. I suppose I'll have to start saying them soon. Well, the other temples will want to know. There's not a lot of high priests or high priestesses left. Most are speakers like me, people who were apprenticed in. And while we've made our best efforts to deal with things, some of us, and you see him subconsciously scratching his arm where you saw the large red burn marks as well as an actual, what you take to be a scar of this realm. Some of us have had difficulty removing our fetters.
Are you
Still.
the boss now? Are you the priest?
Well,
This?
I don't think I'll be the high priest anytime soon. There are others at other temples that might want to come. I suppose I should try to make way. I haven't been here nearly long enough to take on that role, and Demosthenes has not revealed to me all of the knowledge I would need. There are practices and rituals, simple as they might be, especially here. But I suppose I'll have to start.
How many temples are there in the shadow?
I don't know exactly. From the best that I know, there's at least 2 others. There's one outside of Hardbloom, and I hope that it's still there. And from what I understand, there's even one outside the Festering, but I don't know if that one is still active. We can't really speak to each other all that well. We found some of the things that, well, as the Polema High Priestess would have told me before, things don't work exactly as they should here. We should be able to contact them, but we can't.
To contact them via magical sending?
I think that's what you called it, yes. It's almost as though it sort of goes to nowhere.
I've noticed. I've made a few attempts myself.
Well, and that I guess is true. I never learned it myself. I'm still only an apprentice, really. The secrets haven't been revealed to me, but I shall have to hire someone to go to another temple. It could be difficult. The way is possible, and people travel back all the time, but it can be dangerous. A lot of people are lost along the routes. Still, if there's anything else that I can do for you while you're here, just ask. I don't have much. You can stay here if you like. Some people find it disturbing to stay. It's can be a disturbing place to some. They're not used to, well, the simple blank walls, I suppose, and lack of sound and other things.
Seems fine to me.
Seems safer than the place we were previously living in.
We like to think it's safe, and generally people would find it safe, although folks with scars, such as you, my friend, might have some difficulty sleeping. I know I do. I usually sleep on the steps. It's just outside of the reach of Namazani, I guess, for relaxation. Your scar is fresh, I see.
Yes.
They usually grow a little dimmer over the days. You didn't die from it.
No.
Good.
Self-inflicted.
Oh, well, that's unfortunate. And he seems a bit disturbed by the notion that it was self-inflicted. They usually come about from poor interactions. A lot of people die and receive a scar if they return unwhole. Some people fall further down the ladder, never to recover. We've made a few people turn around. Mostly they now serve as scouts and as travelers for us. But if the scar is fresh, it might be removable if you want. But if it was self-inflicted, maybe you don't. I understand.
It's part of a bargain.
Yeah. You'll find that while some things can be bought with coins, the coins of the realm, and a few things can be bartered, things they dig up in the mines, for example, deals like that are not entirely uncommon. I hope you got the better side of the deal.
I think so.
Good.
Is there a way to contact the Lord of Shadows?
Well, I would assume so. I've never tried myself, but I mean, you can always go to Ember Skull and try to present yourself to them. I don't know if they'll let you in, or if they'll listen, but it's dangerous.
Yes, I figured as much.
The Lord of Shadows rules all over all that's here. Although there have been stories that I've heard from travelers who said that none of the Lord of Shadows' direct minions have been seen for a long time. How long a long time is, as you may understand, it's somewhat difficult to begin with no day and no night. The temple also exists in a sort of different space of time and space, I suppose. But I've heard rumors.
Such as?
Oh, that he no longer enforces things. That his minions aren't seen abroad, other than sometimes seeing the Anagolems. Those are unmistakable.
Yes, we saw one recently, I believe.
Oh, well, I hope that's a good sign.
They punched out a demon.
Oh,
Yeah, there was a commotion.
it's definitely a good sign then.
I heard Ironbound made some money off the fight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I suppose that's good then.
What's this?
What are you pointing at?
He's pointing up to wherever the one of the pictures of Perturo looking through a portally thing at the other side. Any of
Okay.
those points.
Well, as I recall the story, when Paluxia left the realm, she made it possible for communication, for them to speak with each other. A window of sorts, or a mirror. The stories get a bit confused, and they knew each other through the window, but something happened to the other side, and it was closed. This was long
Recently?
before Paluxia herself was, well, killed, I guess.
I guess it's not the one that we have in Thylestras.
Maybe a similar one.
Maybe. Maybe it's why it was... Maybe it was
sort of-
just buried?
Possibly.
But it was... Maybe they unburied it? I don't know.
The stories from this side is that it was taken. And if you see, and he points a few later on, where Peturo is sitting despondent upon his throne with his head in his hands, and there seems to be a hand reaching from nowhere to the edge of that window or mirror. Here, I believe that's when they say he lost it. centuries ago now, I'd imagine.
Maybe that's the pair that we have. I
Yes.
know.
You know this mirror or window?
We've seen a similar one
Where?
Hmm?
In our realm.
in our realm.
Oh. Huh. Your realm. Tell me, does the sun still rise? And set?
Yes.
Stars? Moons?
Sometimes it snows quite a bit.
Snow. I remember snow. Oh, I miss it. I can conjure up images in my mind. But they're fading. Polema told me that I would have to eventually give up those images to let time move on, but he unconsciously scratches his arm again. I don't know if I ever can. I don't know if that's what she did in the end or not. She didn't talk about being there much. She's been here a lot longer than I ever have. Still, how did you come to be here then?
We fell through a portal.
You fell through a portal. Oh,
Some kind of druid portal. I've never seen one before.
oh,
Elzara knows more details.
No.
you fell through a gate.
Yes.
That's remarkable. I haven't heard of anyone falling through a gate in centuries.
Is it good or bad?
Well, it's not entirely certain what this place is. Polema tried to explain it to me, but I really didn't understand. She said it was a sort of way station, neither here nor there, not back in the world of Amasia as we know it, and yet not dead. A sort of
In between.
proving ground in between.
Some kind of limbo.
But it was isolated, meant to be cut off from everything. Ways in, but never ways out. But stories of gates have been told for centuries, that there were ways to leave. I just assumed they were stories, people trying to drum up hope. But if you came through a gate, if you weren't killed to be brought here, well, that's entirely different.
The people who sent us here said we were part of some sort of destiny or plan.
And that we have a key of some kind.
A key.
Yes, Ironbound.
Hmm?
Can you show him the artifact, the symbol?
I will stand between him and Clark, facing him,
Okay.
and just show him.
Can I take a closer look at that?
Certainly.
Come this way. And I'll move such that his back is turned to Clark now, so that Clark doesn't see it.
Okay.
Because Clark asked not to.
We know one side says something in Druidic. One side has a symbol of Arvax.
Messed up druidic.
Yes.
Yes, I can see that.
What is it? What does it do, and what are the other symbols?
Well, I don't know exactly what it does. That was never a part of any of my teaching. But it faces four ways. And he kind of turns it around a little bit, and you can see that when you turn it in each of these four directions, an entirely different collection of symbols can be seen. You've already noticed a few of them, but just the way that he kind of angles it, it becomes a lot more clear. It resembles... What did I hear about that? It resembles a communication stone. I remember one in the kingdom where I grew up, Alaria. There was a communication stone that ran between one kingdom and another. They could talk to each other. But this one, this is too... I mean, you said this was druidic. I will take your word for it. It looks vaguely like a vine. This one is the symbol of Arvax. Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
The Hardgloom bears his symbol on the edge of it. This other one almost looks like there were some people who came through with a rather strange looking scar that looked exactly like that. I talked to some people about them. They said that this is a symbol of the festering.
The festering. The Festering Forest?
Yes. Well, it's hard to describe it as a forest anymore. I saw it once, dreadful place. There was a temple there, actually, at one point, but it wasn't... There was no one who would have wanted to stay there. Terrible place. So, you don't know what this does?
No.
No.
Do you?
No. If it's not for communication, then I don't know. If it's not to speak to each of these entities, I don't know why you would want to speak to all four, though. And this other one I don't recognize.
Well, we've
Although
never
it
tried
reminds
using...
me- Yeah, it reminds me of the... Now I've got to look at my friggin' notes. It reminds me of the creatures that live in the Grey Book.
Grey Book?
The Grey Book. It divides the realm. Black and grey, brackish water. Smells vaguely of decay.
The
Like
brook we
a
were
bad
warned
dog.
not to drink from.
Oh no, you should never drink from that. If the water doesn't kill you, then probably whatever's inside will try. I've been by it before, and there's a bridge across it. It's a difficult bridge to cross, but it does take you there, and it, well, there are things that live there. Most of them have an enormous number of tentacles. And I've seen creatures, you can only see them in the corner of your eye sometimes, and they vanish when you look. Tall, thin, strange-looking faces. They too had tentacles.
Well, we'll stay away from that area if we can help it.
Is that what they're called?
Mind flayers.
Huh.
Tentacles.
Yes,
Here.
that sounds right.
Mm,
I've never
evil.
met them myself, and I have no desire to really.
You should never meet them.
My duties are here at the temple, and I don't think I'll be leaving anytime soon.
On another note,
Yes?
your high priestess said that there was somewhere that you could find thornberries.
Oh,
That there
yes.
was a halfling.
Yes.
Do you know where that is?
Not far from the abandoned temple, near the festering. There's a large patch of them. That's where we've sent people to go get them.
I would like to go see that.
You said you were looking to hire somebody to go to the temples, right?
Well, yes, we need to send messages that the high priestess is gone, and try to figure out how we can reorganize ourselves. I'm hoping that some of the other temples, or the other temples, have been, well, successful in bringing people in. Could you do that for me? I can't leave the temple now, especially, and I haven't got another runner coming in for a while.
I would be okay with this.
Likewise.
My one request would be to go see Bernard.
Bernard. The halfling?
Yes. I'm fairly certain it sounds like Bernard, the apprentice of the halfling I was working with over the winter.
That's his name, Bernard Cotton, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, then I would definitely like to go speak to him.
Okay.
Miracle worker. The thornberry comes from him. I don't know how. We never figured that out. It's a dangerous area. The dragon tends to take notice of anyone coming close to the area. We've sent people in from time to time. The thornberry is remarkable. There are not a lot of solaces here in this strange land, but
Are there
tea made from it can be.
Are there any animals around?
Not as such. If you're thinking of finding a rabbit or a deer, I'm afraid you won't find anything quite like that. There are beings who have fallen down the ladder and have no more than an animal's intelligence. Less so, really. Some of them can be recovered. I've seen it done myself. A gray blob that took on form, could speak again. It took a long time, a lot of patience, so much anger. Pray you don't fall down the ladder,
I hope not to.
especially with Heartgloom the way it is.
Clark will point to the wall,
Mhm.
specifically where the orcs are.
Ah, yes, of course. From what I remember of the story,
Does he bring them, or does he shepherd them, or does he create them?
the story isn't exactly clear. From what I remember, how does it go? The world was made and given form, and the children made their children, who went forth and made their mark upon the world. And their mark was strong. But then, there was something missing. And Ignis did not agree, but Paluxia and Paturo did. And so they fashioned the new children. And they were transferred from the hand of Paturo to the heart of Paluxia. And thus began the orcs, the goblins, hobgoblins. I think there was a race of men created at the same time. I don't remember. I'm going to have to remember. I've got so much work to do. I'll have to be running the walkways to remember. This place is made of memory, after all.
Thank you for clarifying.
I'm sure you're up to the
As
task.
best as I could. Thank you. I wasn't expecting to be for a while. I'm glad she elevated, however. She was the kindest person I ever knew. Patient.
She seemed that way.
Mm-hmm.
She must have liked you all, to trust you.
I think she knew that something needed to be done.
So
And she
maybe-
knew we were asking the right questions.
So maybe you are destined. Maybe there is a hand at work here. I would selfishly hope that Nemazini has a hand in this, but to be honest, I cannot say for sure. Nemazini's ways here, as I understand it, are muted. Muted from their proper form. But still, I can hear it. I can see it. Now,
One last question. No matter where we go, what should we do with this? And I'll point to the bag.
Or go put his hand on a knife or axe or something.
Hmm?
you have a glowing bag?
We've discussed it with
With the priestess.
the priestess. Yeah.
I don't understand. What's in the bag?
One of the
She said that it was dangerous
Dangerous.
yes, but
to speak of it.
he's
What is this?
If any place is safe, this would be the safest.
yes, and the priestess is no longer here to provide advice.
One moment. And he goes over to one of the blank walls and he concentrates on the wall. And you see around his hands a nimbus of light that seems to flow and flicker and roll through the walls. And in the immediate area, the walls take on a sheen. So while being solidly but dull white, now they seem to glow slightly. We have Nemazini's blessing. Speak what you will, and do not worry about peering ears.
Good. The bone pillars that sometimes get removed from the mines.
Paluxia's bow?
Yes.
You have one?
We know of one.
You say as you hide the bag that you were pointing at.
Well, if
Temples
you were
get
to
rid
know
of-
where one was, that would be very valuable information for a lot of people.
Exactly.
For
That's why
you, unless both the High Priestess and myself have mistaken, your purposes are a little bit better than the average. They are powerful. Relics, even. Some say that they are, indeed, the last living relics of Paluxia. There are standing bounties from all the powers. I'm sure even Arvax himself wants these for something. And the dragon has been known to be searching for them.
This is why I'm worried, because the priestess said people were killed routinely over these things, so we can't just carry it with us.
Well,
Or who should we use? Who should we use the pillar to bargain with?
anyone will bargain with for that. But be careful. Make sure you know who you're bargaining for. But those are... The only word I can think of is legendary.
Are there any good people to bargain with?
People that won't just
Or are
take it
all
and
the
kill us.
options bad?
I can assure you that while things seem terrible on the surface, people are much more than their scars. Some, however, I would not trust. I would not trust the Broodmother unless you had already received the boon that she would give you.
We've already killed her baby, so I don't think we're dealing with her anytime soon.
You what?
We already killed a dragon.
Wow. And he seems to assess you very
Small
differently at the
one.
moment. Well, that's entirely different. That will also gather her ire, so I would stay clear of her if she could smell the small one on you. There are people to bargain with. It depends on what you're looking for. But of course,
A way out, mostly.
of course.
What?
You'd be looking for a way out. Anyone would, especially where you're so new. Although your scars may slow you down.
What? The priestess mentioned something about the relationship between Arvax and Peturo, or the Lord of Shadows.
Yes.
They are not very fond of each other, are they?
No. I've not personally witnessed it, but I've heard of and seen the aftermath of the battles between them. What I understand now is that Arvax will stop at nothing to destroy Peturo, to take this realm from him. If that happens, then we're all doomed. I have heard of what Arvax does.
Yeah, we've slain a few of his cultists. Several, in fact.
It is a strange following. From what I understand, the dangerous thing about Arvax is not the force that he wields. It is the love that he inspires.
The love.
Yes. Yes. His followers will fight for him because they love him.
Zacchaeus is like, what?
Player remembers something
Okay.
that I don't know if I'm remembering correctly or if Elzara would remember.
Okay.
When we were fighting Arvax all the way back.
Mm-hmm. The original cult of Arvax.
The original cult of Arvax. There was the woman that was being sacrificed by the man, correct? And she was his lover, or something like that.
So as you discovered at the time, the woman was already dead.
And she was trying to be...
And she was, from what you've been able to determine from that, and thinking back on it now and reframing it a little bit, it was her lover who was the one who had brought her forth at the ceremony. I believe at the time, during the ceremony, he said something about her living again.
Yes.
And called out to Arvax to restore his love.
Okay.
It should be noted that while he was her lover, he was not her husband.
Yes.
And her husband seemed to be meekly unaware of what was going on.
And we thought Arvax was trying to get it back into her body, so we torched it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
First
a
boss fight.
pretty thorough. ceremony.
First boss fight.
But yes, that was how that particular battle went back. And if you think back, it reframing it slightly and what Valis has said, it makes a little more sense, oddly enough. And why they were so devoted to making sure it happened that they would sacrifice themselves too. Because with the symbol of Arvax, they were able to come back as a new creature.
Yeah, we don't want those taking over any realm. So,
From what I understand, they're at a bit of a stalemate. As I said, Peturo has not ventured forth. and his minions haven't ventured forth. But I have little doubt that Arvax has stopped. With the Hargloom under his control, most of the dead come back to him.
Yes. And
Some
he's also
escape.
broken through a gate of some kind, and
He did.
yeah, he's in our realm now. He can cross over somehow.
He can cross over?
Who?
Arvex, the Wild Hunt, aren't they related? I mean,
No.
I thought the Wild Hunt was like...
The Wild Hunt, I believe, I'm forgetting who said it, I think it probably was the High Priestess
Because
who
they were
said
like... Part of
that the Wild Hunt had shelter with Arvax.
okay, yeah. But they were both like in the festering forest. Like
the
these
Wild
days.
Hunt had been in the Festering
Okay.
Forest. Arvax had never been.
Okay. So if they hate each other, maybe... I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but if we were to offer the pillar to Peturo in exchange for passage back to our realm, and at the same time, if we have to visit the Temple of Mnemosyne, we could potentially take care of any Arvax cultists we find there.
That's remarkable. If you're capable of doing this, it would be amazing. I don't know what that means for this place, but if the stalemate between Arvax and Peturo is in the favor of Arvax, I know it will be terrible.
Yes. So we
If
basically have to pick one of the lesser evils. Well, is Peturo evil?
I've had a hard time understanding that myself, because I see what this realm is, and I see the pain and suffering, but the High Priestess always cautioned me about describing it that way. She would say that Peturo had a purpose and was made for that purpose, but well, as you can see here, and he points to the wall and the statue, or the stature of Paluxia beside Peturo, with their eyes locked in a look which is not antagonistic. If anything, it could be described as love. When that happened, something changed, and with her no longer here, I don't know if he's evil, but I know that Arvax is, because he corrupts love.
So if we have to pick one of the guys to side with, I'd say we should go with Peturo instead of and go against Arvax.
Out of character, you remember that Peturo is the one that Sustro served.
I remember
Yep.
exactly. And here I am thinking, like, what if we have to return the mirror to Peturo, which is what Cicero was trying to do to begin with? It's like...
And who technically may still own part of our soul.
Yeah.
This is a pre-stream fight as well.
Not part of my soul.
I'm Rune Shivers in the other.
But there was, for those who are trying to follow along at home, there was a gnome named Susuro who came to cross paths with the early version of Owns. And in one particular dangerous fight against the denizens of a crystal cave, they all died.
Except for me.
With the, well, I should say they almost all died.
Yeah, Amarin and Zacchus died.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Emma wasn't there at the time. And Cicero made a bargain with them that they never fully completed. But in return for that bargain, it was their lives.
Well, Cicero made a bargain with her.
Fair enough.
Amarin
That's
didn't
a fair
get a
way to put
choice.
it. It's true.
I bargained your guys' souls and got mine in the middle.
Well, Zacchus was okay with coming back to life.
Being dead was kind of a bummer, so yeah.
Uh,
But ultimately, Cicero was confronted in a newly found temple of Paluxia called the Serene Temple, and when defeated, threw his head up to the sky and shouted to Peturo, essentially saying, "Why hath thee forsaken me?" And then I believe he turned into inky shadow and
No, he got exploded.
Oh, he got exploded, right?
In an attempt to kill us all.
Yes. Well, there was a lot of different things going on, and that was 3 years ago. So, but yes, that is the legend of Susuro, his connection to Paturo.
He does technically maybe still own part of our soul.
Well, if we could meet him and ask.
Do I still feel that same, like, weird feeling of me being...
You haven't paid attention to it for a long time, but as you think on it, there is that sort of sliver of cold that passes through your spine.
Pretty sure he still owns our souls.
There's a connection there at the very least.
Does Zacchus realize there is a connection?
As you start to think on it, there is again that sort of familiar connection somehow. It's as though, you know, if you've ever had a shirt that has a hole in it and a cold wind blows,
Yeah.
and you feel it on that one spot and you can't quite figure out why until you find the hole?
Okay.
That's kind of what this feels like.
Yes. So perhaps if... He might know we're here. He might know we're here.
Probably knows we're here.
And he might know that we have this pillar.
I think we should probably gamble on Paturo.
Mm-hmm. I agree entirely.
Mainly because we already kind of have a deal with him, and maybe he won't kill us. I don't know.
And if he knows...
Also, we know the only current priest of Polexia?
Yes. And we know where there's a mirror hidden. I don't know how everyone's going to feel about that, but
You did what?
we can just cross that bridge when we get to it.
Does that mean you want to cross the bridge?
No, that's figure of speech. My bad.
Well, if you are going to the Ember Skull, you'll end up crossing it anyway.
Yes, I suppose. What is the safest way to... Okay, so we have to visit the temple to find Bernard. And we also need to get in touch with Peturo. What would be the easiest way to accomplish both? Preferably...
Unfortunately, they are opposite ends of the Greybrook.
Yeah.
You can go west and then south to the Festering. The edge of it furthest south is, I believe, where the temple was. It's been a long time. The temple itself might be overgrown, or worse, inhabited. The Broodmother may have taken it. But Bernard's patch is known to still be there. You might just have to search for it. If you want to go to Ember Skull to talk to Paturo, and he kind of shakes his head at the very notion of talking to Paturo, as if it's way beyond his scale of reference. That is far to the northeast. You will have to cross the river for that. I can do a map.
That would be useful.
Crude one.
Yes.
It won't be to scale, but I can give you something anyway. And in
Anything
fact-
we have,
And in
anything
fact,
you can provide will be
Mark
more
had
than what
some
we
crude
have.
time to make a crude map, just to understand the rough dimensions of the area.
If Peturo is powerful, chances are he can, well, possibly send
If
us...
he cares. There's a lot of theories that people say in pubs about why Paturo does no longer interact. Most of them come from people that are far too young, or some people who have fallen a few steps down the ladder.
He's lost his window to the other realm, or to Polexia. If we can provide a new window, he may be interested in hearing us out.
From what I understand, Polexia has died. It is more than a window.
Maybe a soul. Maybe her soul is on the other side somewhere. I'm assuming gods have souls.
The bones are a connection to her. Maybe that's it. I honestly don't know.
There has been expressions of her.
Really? Where?
In Vatur. In our world.
Vatur. Is that a city?
Yes, it's Vaturduran is the island, the city.
Oh, I'm not familiar with it. I never really traveled all that much. But if she's been sighted or
She's
signs?
not been sighted. There have been signs.
Oh,
We've met at least one, maybe two of her.
Our former colleague.
Lieutenants.
No, I'm thinking of the word. Oh, Thylestra and the
Avatars?
Yeah, her
avatars.
yeah. collectively known as the Six Sisters.
We've met one, maybe two of the Six Sisters.
Our former colleague was a priest of Phylexia.
That's
We've received her healing energies multiple times.
that's incredible. If that's the case, then that changes everything.
Yes.
They will. If that changes everything. I'm certain he's never heard of that. Or maybe
It's a recent development.
Yes. Very recent.
after being gone for centuries. That's amazing.
So if Pichiro is somehow connected to us due to our previous bargain in the other world, I'll try to I won't try to do it. Not here. If I were to try to focus on that connection, would he come find us? This way we would not have to walk anywhere.
Probably not.
I have no idea.
It's worth trying. Outside. I don't want to draw Pichiro inside the temple where we have
That
this thing.
would not be good. That might not be possible. The temple, as you might have gathered, is special.
Yes.
Namazani's wisdom allows for some things to be, well, some rules to be broken, I suppose.
Maybe shifting hallways.
Oh, they don't shift, but they aren't always in the same pattern. As you grow to know Namazani, you grow to know the paths. I still get turned around from time to time, but for the most part, I know them. There are new ones to explore, too.
Okay.
Well,
Once we
if
get
you
back.
are willing to go to the temple,
So we're here.
so you're in Withergate right now,
The temple is
the southwest, so along the edge. In fact, he notes quite a bit down to almost to the end of Festering,
so on
which is
this
that
side or
whole
this
area.
side?
On the lower side.
On the lower side, okay.
The river Greybrook actually splits in two around Festering.
Okay. So and they're on this side or on
Somewhere along there,
somewhere along there? Okay.
it's a rough map, and Festering does spread.
And then we need to get to Umber Skull, which is there.
Which is up there.
And Arvax is in Hard Gloom, or is he festering?
Hardgloom.
Okay.
Which is there.
We can deal with him later.
So, if you're willing to do this, I can support you as best as I can. If there are still people in the temple, then great. I'm sure they will help you. I will send something with you to know that you are friends. If the temple has been overrun, I would ask that you, if you can, cleanse it. Remove whatever festering has grown over it. The temple being free of those things, and with the object I can give you, it will regenerate. It will gather others there. It's strange. Namazani often speaks to people in dreams, and they just know where to go. But if the temple has been overrun, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know to go there.
Okay.
As for Cotton's patch of thornberries, it's not far from the temple. As I recall, southwest, about, well, it would only take you, and even he seems to struggle with measurements.
Yeah.
A few thousand paces, I think. You'll see the thornberries. They stand out amongst the overgrowth of festering. There may be caravans traveling that way, but I haven't heard of any for a while.
Okay. I'll recognize the thornberries without an issue.
As for getting to Emberskull, you can come back to me once you've been to the temple if you like. I can certainly help you if you have anything that needs to be helped. But crossing the bridge is dangerous. The, what did you call them? Illithid? They take people from the bridge. And they have their creatures, large, with many ropey arms that
I might have a way around that.
Oh, well, that's good.
How wide is the river?
It's exhausting to cross. I don't really know how wide it is. And I wouldn't fall in the water if I could avoid it. Or rather, if you fell in the water, that would be all there was. The other thing is that, although I've drawn it there as far away, hard gloom spreads. There's a dark fog which grows around it. The pillars sometimes are new. From what I understand, each one is a monument to people who have died. The bigger the pillar, the more power or something. I'm not sure what. And with everyone here, well, people occasionally fall down the ladder entirely. Sometimes they become coins, I guess. You find them randomly. I always wonder what happened to them, but I don't look too closely. It was their fate, I guess. There's no roads as such. There will be some patches of stone which are more worn than others. There's no vegetation other than festering. Try to stay clear of the umbral nest, though.
The what nest?
Umbral nest.
Umbral nest.
It's to the south. It is mostly up above, suspended somehow. From what I understand, it is a place of lost souls. Somehow fallen, but also lost their physical form. But sometimes one does have to go there. For seeking someone in particular. You may find them there.
Really?
Not all who died come here. But all who died and came here have something unfinished.
We'll keep the warning in mind.
Now, is there anything else I can do for you?
Could we stay here the night?
Oh, of course, of course. I will make sure the rooms are ready for you. We don't offer much. No little sweets on your pillows. In fact, not really pillows at all. I remember those.
I'm good.
You offer safety, this is good enough.
You are welcome in Namazadu's house.
If we sleep,
Hmm?
I can use one of my most energy-consuming spells that would allow us to windwalk. We would turn into cloud forms. We'd have a flying speed of 300 feet, resistance to damage from non-magical weapons. The only action a creature can take in this form is the dash action, or to revert into its normal form that takes 1 minute, during which time the creature is incapacitated and can't move. Until the spell ends, creatures can revert to cloud form, which also requires a minute for the transformation.
This would be useful.
How long does it last?
8 hours.
This would be very useful. It would also change our shapes, so any dragons passing by would not see us as easily.
It might not be able to help us hide from a dragon, but it would get us places faster and give us a better chance of possibly crossing
The river, yes.
the river if we go way up high. And
I'm going to go peer at the bag that he's carrying. Does
Okay.
it look any worse off than after we first put the thing in?
Because I don't want to take this thing, like, to too many places if it's, like,
Make a
unstable.
perception check.
Can I make investigation?
Sure. Investigation implies you're basically prodding and poking at the bag as opposed to just looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see
I'm investigating.
small
it.
ironbound come over and start to sort of massage the bag a little bit.
19.
19.
Context.
The dagger pulled him. As you look at it closer, while there is that weird spillage that's coming out around the seams, it does not seem to be any more frayed than it was before. It's holding, but you can see where some of the top stitches have already broken. It wouldn't be advisable to bring it through any stressful circumstance, like throwing it around or something, but at least for now it seems to be holding. The magical part of it, you really don't know. But the small amount of glowing that's coming out of it is still pretty strong. Kind of flows weirdly, like almost like fog, bright white fog.
This will attract attention. Is there? If we go to the temple first,
I'm assuming that you've all gathered in a room that
Yeah.
Valis provided, making your plans.
if we go to the temple first, this is going to be a liability. Maybe the speaker can let us leave it here until we get back. Or we can bring it to Ember Skull first.
You can always ask.
Yeah.
It's up to you guys.
I would say ask
If we can leave it here?
both.
Okay.
Going to Ember Skull first may make it so that we can't go to the temple.
Yeah. I think we should go to the temple first, but
Okay. And in the event that we don't come back, then our friend, is it Varys or Valis?
Valis.
Our friend Valis can use the pillar as a bargaining tool. Maybe get rid of his scar.
Don't mention that.
Mention what?
Do not mention him using the pillar.
I'm not going to, but I mean, if we don't come back, is he supposed to just sit on it? I mean, the High Priestess said that the previous temple was destroyed because such an artifact was in it.
if we don't come back, he'll do whatever he does with it.
Yes, but don't bring it up to him.
I won't.
Don't put ideas in his head. That's our key out of here.
Yes, I know.
Should we be killing him and looting the place?
No.
No.
Okay.
Thought crossed the mind.
I wasn't certain what the customs were for adventuring.
And on that note, if there's nothing else to discuss for the evening,
I would like to discuss with Clark the Windwalk idea. Because last time I turned him into something.
true.
To save time, Clark would prefer not to use magic at all, but if it means getting out of this place, he'll allow it.
It'll make us quicker than anything that
Yeah.
any of us can.
Yeah.
And make us a little bit less detectable.
Cool.
So.
All right.
And I would like to do something.
Okay.
I would like to go outside. Just outside the temple.
Make a
Go outside the temple roll.
make a perception roll. Because navigating the walls or the halls of Demosthenes' temples is difficult.
I'm aware. 17.
17.
No, 18.
Okay. It takes you a while. How long, you're not entirely certain. But just when you're about to give up, you actually see the front arch. And sitting under the arch, in a relaxed position, is Speaker Valis. His head is bowed slightly, looking outward. But you see the outside.
I'm going to sit on the step.
Beside him?
Not right beside him, but like a little bit.
Okay. As you step out and beyond the arch, you do feel this weird sense of certainty as the world kind of snaps back into proportion. But otherwise, you sit down on the step. It's a little bit colder than you might have expected. The stone is more gray than white on the outside.
And I would like to cast Locate Creature
Okay.
on Riordan.
Okay.
Just
There
a shot in the
are
dark.
A couple of different things with that spell. Let me
Yes.
Look it up here, make sure I
Yeah,
remember.
that's good. 1,000-foot range. It's blocked by running water or a thin sheet of lead. Something like that.
Something like that.
It's not blocked by stone. Remember that much.
Okay. Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
While I'm doing this, I am focusing on my ring.
All right.
Because this ring apparently has magic on it that links the wearers to know when the other is in danger.
Okay. So you sit and relax into this position. Are you using a focus?
Yeah, I would have my staff.
Your staff? Okay. And you kind of center yourself in your mind, trying to calm the wild notions of what this place could be. Your heart racing nonetheless because you're thinking of him. And that brings to mind fond memories, but then an emptiness. You remember the moment when you went back to your home and found that the few last things you had of his were gone. And you concentrate. No response. And
Didn't
that
expect
echo of silence lingers the entire hour of the spell you spend. And you feel you just push a little further and push a little farther. But in the end, there's no response.
It was worth a try, and I did not expect one. And then I go back inside.
Okay. Although his position has changed, outwardly Valis has made no mention or no acknowledgement of you, but you can see he's probably shifted a couple of times during this hour, but is studiously ignoring even the small amount of murmuring he would have had to do for that spell. And you hear as you step through the arch, right, left, right, 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 left, straight, left. Should get you there.
Thanks.
And sure enough, following his directions, even at times when you feel like, but no, he said go right again, but there's almost no room right, and I'm sure that I went left and I came out the other way, despite kind of putting down those particular impulses. You find your way back to the room where the rest of you have started to sleep.
Yep.
Yourself ready?
I assume we'll take shifts.
Sure.
Okay. You set up shifts for the evening. Each of you, you're unrolling your bag, I'm assuming, to actually sleep on. I don't know if the rest of you have much else to sleep on. The room is very, very plain. It reminds you in some ways not entirely unlike the pillbox houses you've been in for the last while, with simple stone. And those of you who had spent some time in the Hall of Nabosity before recognize they don't really go for much for accoutrement. There's not much furniture here, but the stone is strangely a little more forgiving than the night's sleep before.
Yeah, I offer I'm meditating, so I offer my bag, my sleeping bag, to someone.
You notice that even though you just took it out of your bag a little while ago, like sure hours ago, it's already starting to look dull in color. And you can see there's a fray around one edge, weirdly enough.
I start taking out my clothes.
They too seem to have lost some of their luster. They're good quality clothes, so there's no fraying yet, but the colors seem a little duller.
We need to get out of here quick.
Yes. And with that notion, you take your shifts. Anybody else doing anything else that evening?
Nope, not that I can think of.
On my shift, I'm going to ritually cast Detect Magic
Okay.
and look around. I am looking for anything that might look like it might prove of use to me and my allies.
Okay.
And if there is anything, I'm going to take it. and I'm not telling anyone.
So are you wandering around the building then, or staying in the room? There's nothing in the room that you can see.
I'm not going out into the mazed area,
Okay.
but yeah, any places nearby, yeah, he'll walk around.
Okay. Make an investigation check.
26.
26. Nice.
It's
So-
one of my
Expertise.
Very good. So you crawl out into the hallway and don't see anybody. There's not really much for sound, but there's this weird sort of thing you've noticed ever since coming in here, almost like a low-level humming sound. It still makes you a little nervous because there are, again, no shadows whatsoever. There's no cover here. You feel entirely exposed,
It's a little creepy.
which is definitely feeling creepy to you. You go into a couple of rooms that are basically exactly the same as the one you were in. Simple stone slabs there for sleeping on. You do find a room that's just around the corner, and you're pretty sure you can remember where you came. And you find actually the tea set that Valis had been working from, and there's a small amount of water coming out of, essentially out of a spring coming out of the wall that's gathering into a small pool that drains away somewhere below. The tea set itself is magical. It has evocation magic on it. You touch the side of the tea set, and it's actually slightly warm to the touch still. The teacups are set out, but nothing is in them at the moment. There's a small jar, about the size of actually about the size of that candle right there. In it, you can see there's about 1/3 of the bottom filled with small berries that look to be dried. Red berries with there's actually wisps of the small petals, white petals with little gold edges on them, and a spoon on the tray as well. Aside from
Tea berries.
the tea set itself, really we're talking about the main kettle. There is a bit of magic emanating from the berries. That would be enchantment magic, I believe.
Interesting.
Oh no, sorry. Well, yeah, I guess enchantment and abjuration, kind of a combination of the both of those, kind of floating through, but in a very dim state, as though inactive.
If that's all I find, I'll pocket that. I'm not going to try and carry around a tea set.
Okay, the bottle, you mean, or
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the one with the berries in it.
okay, yeah, that's easy enough to put in your pocket.
When we drank the tea earlier,
Mhm.
was there was something that happened, wasn't there?
I dropped it.
Well, you dropped it, but no, I mean, like, did it have a noticeable effect on us?
It did, but the effect seemed to be. It didn't seem to have a particular effect in terms of changing anything about you, but it felt warm from the inside, and you felt relaxed.
Okay. I pocket the berries.
You didn't drink the tea though. You specifically didn't drink the tea. Okay. You pocket the berries, no problem, and make your way back after searching a couple more rooms, and there doesn't seem to be much else here. It seems like these are all chambers, and for a brief minute, you're kind of looking down the hallway, and looking down this other hallway, and you're like, I came from that way, and there's a moment where you're not quite sure. But as you follow your instincts, you indeed find them back there. The easiest thing is you actually hear some people snoring. Slightly.
Also, I've got, like, all kinds of, like, I'm a ranger person, so.
But this land makes
Yeah.
you feel very uncomfortable.
It's way too bright.
It's not only that, everything is so similar. And you feel like if you'd gone too far into it, you may not have been able to find your way back. But your instincts took over for you.
I always feel claustrophobic in Demosthenes temples.
It's easy to. The night passes.
That's it, yeah.
Each of you have a comfortable rest. In the morning, you notice that the scar on your face has solidified somewhat. It no longer has a soft, almost pustule look to it. Now it feels like hardened over skin, like an actual cut scar, which is starting to heal, but heal as a scar.
I forgot to mention, do I see anything that's, like, needle-like or thorn-like or anything that I could make into blow darts?
If you shake around the jar a little bit, there's still a few small thorns in there. It is called thornberry, after all.
Sure.
And you can actually, they're a bit dry, so you're probably going to have to soak them a little bit before they're going to be supple enough to make sure they're not going to just snap off. When
I'm soaking them in poison.
Perfect. That'll work.
That'll do the job.
So
I
you
get a
find
good night's rest.
five thorns within there.
I get a good night's rest.
You get a good night's rest.
Yay. No more exhaustion?
No more
I think
exhaustion.
that cuts out your exhaustion, yes.
I am
Well, that's right, you
zoomed.
still had a level of exhaustion, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, but you didn't drink the tea. Never mind.
No, I did.
Did you drink it later?
Yep.
Because you dropped it.
But once.
Well, she started to drink it, I think,
Yeah.
and that's what.
That was it. Was
That
the
was
taste
different.
of it. That
Yeah, I
was-
will say you didn't drink enough of the tea because there was meant to be an effect there, but I forgot you had
Either way, it's
exhaustion.
gone anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Oh well, it's gone.
The tea has other effects, as you might imagine.
As yeah,
You wake up the next morning.
I've heard
Nothing
well.
seems different from when you slept, or when you happen to open your eyes in the middle of the night. Night and day ceasing to have a lot of the same concept as it once did. You notice as you're gathering up your bedroll, it looks even more dull than last night. And there's definitely a fray around the edges.
Do we all notice this?
I cast mending
She's
on
actually using the
Okay.
bedroll and kind of packing it up. The mending seems to have an effect on it. The little strays who knit themselves back together. The color is less dull than it was.
it. We need to get out of here fast.
Yes, we do.
My bedroll is decomposing.
What? Can I look at it?
I just mended it. Look at it tonight.
Yeah, it looks more or less pristine just after she's done that. But it does make an Arcana check, actually, now that she's mentioned this to you.
6 plus 14, so non-natural 20.
We rolled crappy and got a 20.
There's nothing that seems to be eating away at people. There's no acid in the air. There's nothing that makes any sense, that except for the fact that time has no measure, but it has meaning. Those words that the high priestess said to you come back to you, and you think that would happen. It would fade and fray in time.
Yeah.
Not really sure what that means, other than time itself is flowing strangely here. That may be an effect of the temple. That may be an effect of this place.
Yeah, because I remember like when Elzera had the good berry, it like pretty much rotted in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
Within a minute instead
Yeah.
of a day.
Your clothes seem fine.
They do, in fact.
Yeah, because the clothes of mending.
They're in fact looking quite pristine.
Yeah. Like, look at my fabulous robe that makes me a target.
When you in the morning take out your sword to give it its proper cleaning and organization, a little bit more comes off the sword when you're sharpening than you expect. But it still seems to be holding together nicely, but weirdly enough it seemed duller than you expected it to be, even though you weren't cutting through anybody except possibly in your sleep. But there's no dead bodies to attest to that.
So, the bag, should we take it with us or leave it here?
I don't like either of those options.
Me neither.
I prefer having it with us.
Okay.
Seconded.
We have to find a way to cover this. I'm pointing at the flowy light, bright light.
You had wrapped it up in a dress as well,
Yeah.
but there was still a little bit of light that escaped from that even. Looking at the dress and looking how it's wrapped up, the dress does not show any sign of fraying or dulling.
I see.
Hey.
I don't know what to do.
Do I notice this as well? About the dressing not being fraying?
Not particularly paying attention to that.
Okay.
It's hard to notice what's not happening. And frankly, your robe looks perfect. So
Yeah.
whatever's happening to her bedroll
It's
is
just them.
clearly like bed bugs or something.
It's in my brain.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't believe the glow will be much of a problem. This place never gets very dark. You'll not be that obvious.
I hope not.
And we're going to be wind for at least 8 hours.
Good. If we can get to the temple and get inside, before the spell wears out. That should be fine.
So, Speaker Valis comes to the door. I hope you all rested well.
Yes.
And you're on your way, I assume.
Mm-hmm. You
Okay.
said you could provide things to assist us. What are these?
Not much, I'm afraid.
I have
but
some berries in the bottle in the
I
next
can
room.
I can make some of the thornberry tea that you could take with you.
Okay, that would be good.
Although I think I'm low on berries at the moment. Aside from that, I can give you this, and he kind of reaches into his robes and pulls out a small globe. It's made of what looks like the same white stone that's here, a little bit smaller than a fastball, than a hardball. This, any of the members who follow Mnemosyne will identify this as a goodwill offering.
Okay.
I give it to you, and there's almost a formality that enters into his voice. I give it to you in good faith,
Thank you.
and may you carry it, and Mnemosyne's blessing go with you. And with that, the spell, which I've got to double check the name of because I always mix this one up. That's not it. DTTT. That's not it either. That's not the one I wanted. It's the one glasses. Oh, aid. That's what I'm looking for.
Aid. Savior of beast companions.
So with all of you,
Mhm.
Unfortunately, it's only 3 people. Oh, but he can cast it twice. Your hit point maximum is increased by 5 for the next 8 hours. And you feel the energy flowing over you. 10 points. He's at a better level than that.
Cool.
And he does cast it twice to encompass all 4 of you.
Nice.
Triple digits.
Well,
I hope that will serve you well. Show that stone to any of the members of Mnemosyne's following, and they'll recognize you. If the stone is lost or taken from you, it will cease to have the blessing with it. So you will serve as good currency.
thank you.
Aside from that, I can offer you a little bit of direction. Do you have the map that I
Yes.
gave you? Indicates on the map. If you go from here, it's hard to judge, but you'll see the hard gloom ahead of you. Head toward it till you go close to the river, but stay away from the river. From there should be a more or less a caravan path that leads along the river. It's far enough away that you shouldn't have to worry about things, but at least there you can make your way and you won't be lost. The river serves as a good guide going back and forth. Other than that, I mean, it's not the most direct route, but going overland is dangerous. I've heard that there's a band that's formed together, people who were in their former lives living by the sword, under the name of someone named Telmar, I think.
Lord Telmar.
Good old
We were
Lord.
actually staying in his house before coming
were?
here. Yeah.
Well, I hope he wasn't there. Nonetheless,
We might be able to swing by and pick up his banner. If they ever stop us, it'll be something to perhaps,
Show that we stole something from his house.
or that we're impressed by his deeds. Who knows?
so I was speaking to some people at one of the pubs nearby, and they mentioned having lost most of their people to Telmar. So I don't know what his purpose is, but it's dangerous.
Well, if we're lucky, we can get there within the 8 hours and literally
That
be
would
smoke.
be amazing. I don't know how you plan to travel that quickly, but it usually takes, well, I mean, I don't know how hours are measured anymore, but it's usually longer than I can walk in a day.
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah, good.
Basically going 6 times.
That will be impressive.
Or it's 300 feet.
It's
per
10 times normal human movement.
Yeah.
10 times normal human movement.
That
About
should serve
20
you
miles
well.
per hour for 8 hours.
Well then, Although
And you
you're-
can dash.
Yeah, although I'm assuming we can't do that constantly, or
It's the
our
only
characters
thing
would
you
do
can
that in real
do.
life. Yeah, but I'm assuming there's like a certain endurance limit. Otherwise, our characters would be dashing all over the place just to get groceries.
That's what I do usually. Like,
I mean, that's like during the chase scene that you had, where it's like, okay, you can dash, but only so many times.
Yeah, yeah. There's a certain level of exhaustion that can kick in after a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets weird. This is D&D.
Yeah. Even on the slowest, we can still go 160 miles, which is pretty far.
All right. Well, then I bid you good luck. I hope that you find the temple in good standing and find out whatever you're looking for as well. And may your dealings with Patoro prove fruitful.
Thank you.
Hopefully.
I have hope. I had a vision. The Mosney's visions are hard to interpret, but it felt good. And despite the fact that I think all of the dead were rising, that was confusing, but strangely positive.
all of the dead rising seems like not a positive, but I'll take your word for it.
In the land of the
Many
dead,
of-
it might be.
Many of the dead are trapped within Heartgloom. I can only assume it means that they will be released. It does, however, suggest that you might run across Arvax at some point. The good hope is that you have some chance to defeat him, I suppose.
If we can obtain Peturo's backing, yes.
It is a strange time to hear such things.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying them. But here we are.
Very well. Good luck. And he leads you to the exterior of the temple. It's a route that's different than the one you traveled outward last night, or inward last night, but he seems to be sure-footed about the travel. Even from yesterday, there's a strange, noticeable change in Valis. It's almost as though more weight has been loaded onto his shoulders, but he's standing stronger and straighter because of it. He leads you to the front. May we all see each other once more, and may you be victorious.
Your blessing is
blessing
appreciated.
goes with you.
Your blessing is much appreciated.
Also with you.
Thank you. And what happens next?
I am like, okay, this will take a minute. I've never
just gonna-
done this before.
We're just gonna be passing wind.
But
And on that note, you all die.
It's not how I wanted to go.
So we won't be able to communicate, I don't think.
There are two components that are needed for this.
There are fire and holy water, but they don't have a.
Yeah, they don't have a gold cost.
Gold
they're
cost,
Not consumed,
so.
so the focus will be fine. Yeah, okay. Normally, yes, you are literally wind.
Literally wind.
And there's not much. I will say that you can see each other because you know the form itself, but communication is very difficult.
skywriting.
So yeah, we won't really be able to communicate much, from what I understand. I think I saw someone do this once. And I'm pretty sure it takes a while to get out of this form. And that you can't move while you're doing it.
We can't just snap back to ourselves.
Takes a little while, a minute.
Alright, so hopefully nothing ambushes us. Hopefully nothing notices us.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
So you begin casting Wind Walk. And after a minute, as you walked around each of them, you all notice as your forms become less corporeal. And you'll be able to see through each other, making out the outlines. Especially because you're this close, it still seems fine. One thing that's very noticeable, however, as the magical effect passes over Zakis, it is as though it is literally a cloud with a silver lining now, as the glow does seem to encompass his entire form.
Uh-oh.
He's a little more noticeable than the rest of you.
Well, shit.
A little more. Not completely. And
As
nothing
you
can
look-
catch me.
As you look down, I mean, there is that noticeable thing, you kind of shrug. You try to speak, and it comes out as nothing more than whispers on the wind. You
Go.
then proceed
We
to
have
go.
8 hours.
How are
Zoom,
you
zoom.
going? What's the strategy? Are you following along the route that
I would-
Valis has suggested?
I would say do that from high up.
Yeah.
How high up do you want to go?
Well, the spell does a minute of 60 feet per.
I think that's when you, if
Yeah.
it ends
it
when you're
ends.
in the air,
Yeah,
then
so-
it goes
Yeah.
60 feet per minute, or
Yeah.
per round, sorry.
Yeah, for 1 minute.
Um,
So, like, I want to be able to see, like, the water and stuff, and,
Okay.
like, landmarks, but
I mean, we could go 1,000 feet up and we'll still easily see
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
any of the big ones.
Okay.
And we
Start
could-
to rise further and further into the air. Probably you're leading. This is your thing in some ways. As you rise up further and further, and you're glancing over the horizon, you see that there is no real ambient light here. And it's very difficult to make out things at too far a distance.
Okay, so I'd go down a little bit at that point, too.
You kind of, looking at that, you realize there's sort of a cloud almost that seems to hang. It's invisible when you're down below, but it seems to just sort of hold over. The darker cloud you see in the distance of probably hard gloom way off in the distance. You're able to orient a little bit because you do see the two glowing red embers of Ember Skull far to the north. You make a perception check.
Keep looking for my d20s. That's not great. That's a 14.
14. There's a bit of disorientation that happens as you rise up, rising up higher and higher. And the disorientation is when you look upward and the stars are a lot closer than you expected them to be. They move much more swiftly in your vision than you expect them to move. And as you look up further and further, you come to realize that they are not stars. They are small crystals embedded in a ceiling, maybe 2,000 feet up. This is not an open place. This is a hollow place.
I see.
As you float back downward, and the rest of you are also experiencing this weird problem that if you go further than 100 feet or so from each other, that wisp, that dark wisp that infests this entire area starts to make it difficult to see each other. So you're going to have to stay fairly relatively close.
Yeah.
Other than the Ember Skull, it's almost impossible to make out any other features in the landscape. But if you stay within a couple of feet of the ground, you can see where the features there are. You even make out a caravan starting its way out of the city. It is made up of two very large, lumbering humanoid creatures pulling a cart with a somewhat familiar figure riding in the cart with a large hat and a large coat and no visible face beneath. Seems to be carrying what looks to be barrels roughly carved out of stone. In those barrels are pools of inky blackness that swirl and twist, occasional faces manifesting on the surface, then dissipating away. You make your way along the road, very quickly outpacing this simple cart.
Zoom, zoom.
Pretty much.
Following the directions that Valis gave us. Or, I'm assuming that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So, like, go north until you hit the river, then follow the river.
Northwest, essentially,
Yeah.
but yeah.
I keep an eye on how we're traveling, just to see if we start to go off course. Because
Okay.
one of my ranger abilities is I cannot get lost except by magic. if we're
Okay. Is that
doing
on
lost
familiar
distance
ground,
travel.
or is that on any ground?
Nope, that's just
It's
a
on
ranger
not,
ability.
not preferred terrain, is it? That's
Nope.
the thing.
Some of those ones are.
Look,
Yeah. Just want to double check to make sure. It's not likely to be an issue here, but
oh, no, that is under the one thing. So,
out of the favorite terrain?
yeah, it's a natural explorer, but yeah, it says pick one type.
Okay.
Yep, never mind.
So I'm assuming probably for your character that the type would be more likely to be underground.
Mm-hmm. No, I took caverns in the
Yeah.
Underdark.
Yeah.
I'll
Which
still
actually-
keep an eye out.
It
but I
actually,
just have
it
my-
actually is relevant here because the ground does feel like this, and while she can't communicate with you, you feel your instincts kicking in.
Yeah.
The ground below is nothing really more than craggy rock. From this distance and from the height, you're able to make out different pieces and forms of it. You quickly outpace, as I said, the wagon before, and you can make out this slim track, which from the ground would be harder to see as well. But you can make some vision of footsteps that have, over a long time, carved out little runnels in otherwise very solid stone. You're traveling for a while. It feels sometimes like you're making no progress at all. The distance is so great. Even with the speed that you're making, there's little to really judge your travel against. But you do slowly make out the the Ember Skull light moving ever so slightly along as you move around it and making your way. Before long, you can actually start to hear the river. But instead of the familiar sound of water which bubbles and toils along, there's something different about it. It sounds more like what oil would sound like. And you can see that it's greasy and black, and where the water rushes up along the banks, there is a residue of sort of green and inky black that shivers a little bit, and then is caught up by the next wave and disappears.
Bleh.
You turn towards the southwards, following the river along. As you look over to the river, you can now make out distinct shapes that kind of peer up towards the top of the water. How are you traveling? With full speed, or are you being stealthy?
I mean, 150 feet per.
About 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the stealthing
Yeah.
speed.
So it's still faster than any of us could go.
Yeah, well, yeah. In the 8 hours, we'd go about 80 miles. So I don't know what that is in the thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
You can
So
just
stealthily
lazily
or
drift.
quickly?
I'd say either stealthily or normal.
Whatever speed she's going at is.
I mean,
We'll keep pace.
yeah,
okay.
I'd say we would have discussed this as well.
So, what's the consensus?
You two are the stealthy ones.
We'll keep pace.
I'll keep pace.
Whatever
just to-
speed you want to travel at.
I'll do half of it at normal speed, half of it stealthily.
Okay.
The dangerous part with your stealth.
I don't know which part is which necessarily,
Base.
but for fun, let's make stealth rolls for each of you.
7.
You actually make it a disadvantage
Yeah.
because it's low on the edge of your... Seven's
7.
pretty rough to begin with.
30. Plus
expected.
being air.
18.
Yeah.
32.
Well, I'm already factoring that into their rolls, but yeah, so you got an 18, you got a
Natural 20
30,
Makes it a 30.
you get a...
I get a 32. I get a natural 20.
So this will be interesting. There's a possibility.
Because of Zach's poor rolls.
Okay. All right. You continue along. The water grows more and more turbulent as it reaches a splitting point. And you can kind of make out now the sound of the water seems to almost change from that viscous liquid to the sound of constant, like humanoids coming up for breath. Kind of constantly. It gets distracting almost, sounding as though it's somehow alive. And indeed, when you look over, the crests of waves sometimes look to be humanoid forms. This one smaller, this one large and well-shouldered, this one with tusks like an orc. And then it splits in two. And a festering stands before you. What once was, perhaps, if this land ever had a large hardwood forest, not entirely dissimilar to where the grove is itself. This is the crude remains of such a thing, as if a disease has passed through it and torn life from it and yet shadows flit from tree to tree. A dull, low roar sounds in the distance, reverberating off of the multiple tree limbs, such that it seems like it's coming from everywhere in the forest. Below, you can see the track that's on this side of the river, moving further and further away from the river, as though even coming this close is too much. And indeed, the trees start to be appearing on this side of the river, somehow crossing across this 15-foot gap where the river is at its smallest. As you move and follow along the river, you look over. Who has the lowest wisdom?
Probably Clark. At 0?
You got 14.
Okay.
Yeah, +2, 0, and higher.
18.
You make a wisdom saving throw.
Sure.
And you make a perception check.
19.
Wisdom 11.
Okay. You see wagons that have pulled off the road a bit further in. It's impossible to tell exact distances from this height, but you'd say probably about a half a mile, in fact, which you can still see because of your vision. You see people. They look like they're executing a drill. Look like soldiers. And there's a chant which is running through them. A regular hoo, 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 which triggers in you a strange sort of memory. One of the times when you were traveling as a mercenary, you remember coming close to an orc training camp where they were indeed doing their not only physical training, but almost mental training. And there was something about that called to your heart, and that rhythm stuck with you. And there's one right here. You see the wagons, and you see several people seated on rocks. They are not moving. This is what Elzara sees specifically. They are not moving. And every once in a while, what looks like roots reaches out and takes one into a dark hole. You hear a small cry when one disappears. Looks to be an elf, young woman. And a cry, where you hear the war cries. Do you stop to investigate or continue on? Or gesture?
Stop.
I'm going to go closer.
Okay. The two of you see those two veering off the road a bit.
I won't keep going forward, but I'll just kind of like observe from a distance.
Okay, so you're going to hold back a bit.
Yeah.
Mr. McGlowy McGee.
What about Ironbound?
Yeah, I'll follow them.
Okay. You see the troop that's there. There must be 100 of them. All of them well executing these maneuvers. And among them you see, strangely, no, it can't be, a familiar face. It's been a long time since you've seen your sister. And yet there she is, ordering the lines, getting everything ready. Efficient. Hard on them, but they seem to be not only used to it, but actually expecting it. And she's organizing the lines. You see now that there's probably a dozen wagons that have been diverted off this path, and people just sitting there, staring into nothingness. A wide variety. Elves, humans, a couple of dwarves, a few halflings, just sitting there, just staring. And there's a half smile on their faces as you see, coming out of a hole again, these long tentacles reach out and grab one, yank it and pull it in. What do you do?
Do we see this as well, or just...
Actually, at this point, you make a perception check, and you make a perception check to see what you've actually noticed.
Nope.
How bad was a nope?
8.
Ooh, yeah.
11.
You've seen the two of them go ahead, but you're not quite sure why. You see that Clark seems to be lowering down a little bit, while Zara is probably hovering a little bit higher. And Looks like there's some motion.
I'm
some
going
people.
to try to herd Clark.
Okay. How? Make a performance check. Let's see if you can give your hand signals properly.
That's a natural 11.
Natural 11.
So a 10.
Okay. As you kind of realize that part of the problem is he just keeps moving through you every time you kind of get in his way to do him. And he seems fairly focused looking at this group. You look as your sister looks up to you and waves to come in.
I am going to
Clark will
go
approach.
to the ground and start diverting. It will take 10 rounds.
Okay. Clark, you move closer.
Yeah, he'll join the group.
Okay. The image of your sister walks forward, holding a spear, and you can see that the spear is well carved. It's got a history to it, which is carved down the edge, as though it was wielded by a mighty warrior, now passed down from family to family. You've heard of such things, and holds it out to you, and your hand moves right through it, as you realize you're not solid substance. You see now her stopping and coming down to the ground. As you get closer a little bit, you see that there are people sitting in what looks like just sitting on rocks, stock staring forward.
Can I tell if they're like charmed or something, or if there's something magically
From
controlling
this
them?
distance, no. You'd have to probably get a little closer. But this is not a natural behavior for anybody.
No.
So there's a good idea indication there.
I'm gonna go down a little lower. Not as low as they are, but
Okay.
I'll go down to the ground and see what they're doing.
Okay. They seem to be just sitting there.
No, them.
Oh, them. Well, they seem to be just standing there. And as you are slowly trying to solidify, let's see, day 8. 2 rounds have gone by, so you still got some more time before this is happening. You look over, and again, the tentacles come out of a window. Both of you can make perception checks to see if you notice exactly what's happening.
17.
Out of a hole, I should say, in the rock. 17 and
22.
22. Both of you notice as large tentacles come out of a rock cave, reach out, grab onto one of these people, and pull them into the cave. There's a small little cry when that happens. Clark?
No, he'll wait till things are solid again.
Okay. You see Clark stop and stand.
I'm going to try to land like about 150 feet away from...
You've already landed because you're starting to convert.
You don't have to land to do that.
You have to stop. You're incapacitated
Yeah.
while it happens.
Yeah, but while I'm... Oh, it's the only one that dissipates. Never mind. Yeah.
Yeah, only until it's gone will you actually
Yeah.
fall
Sorry,
down.
I thought that it was like when this... I misread.
That is what happens when it dissipates. But when you
when it's done, it's
when
when
you
you-
voluntarily return, it takes you a minute and you're incapacitated while that minute is on. So I assumed you came down to the ground to start
I mean,
converting because
I do currently have my doll on me.
it's true. It doesn't help you from falling. It helps you from falling off of things.
Oh, it's...
I think it does cast Featherfall, actually.
It casts
as well.
Featherfall,
that's
yeah.
true. I'd forgotten about that. It's been a while.
Good for a minute, and then you fall anyway.
True. Well, okay. Do you want to have started up in the air then, relying upon the doll?
No, I'll go to the ground, and I'd be
Okay.
about 150 feet away from...
Okay.
Did I see that they're trying to re-solidify?
It definitely seems that way. From what Elzara described before, the effect is you have to stop and concentrate, and you can see the outline of Elzara growing a little stronger. A few seconds later, you see the outline of Clark growing a little stronger.
Okay. I'll land near Elzara because Clark can probably take care of himself. Because I have no idea what's going on with Clark, so he assumes Clark can take care of himself.
That's an excellent assumption. Sadly.
And then, yeah, I'll start solidifying too.
Okay. What about Zakis? As you see all of them kind of go forward,
I'm
this
like,
strange behavior, and something just reached out of
what
a
are they
cave.
doing? This was not the plan. I'll go lower. What?
Never mind, I said nothing.
I heard do it, but I'm not sure if it was preceded by don't do it. Well, I'll go closer to the ground and try to observe what's going on with the people who are just sitting there getting eaten.
Okay, so you're gonna fly right up to them, take
Close.
a closer look.
Close-ish.
close?
Not like... Say from like here to the doorway. Like
Okay.
20 feet.
Okay.
ish. Yeah. 15, 20 feet.
Are you going closer to where the one was last taken, or out at the edge?
The edge.
Okay. As you fly closer, make a
Slowly.
let's call it an insight check.
14 plus 2, I think. No, plus 5. Yeah, so 19.
Okay. As you come closer and you're looking at them, it's very strange because the look on their face is almost rigid, but again, there's a bit of a half smile there. You notice a little bit of drool coming down one side of this poor halfling's face, the young female halfling. But you also notice the trickles of tears coming out of her eyes. You would swear that she's having, at this particular moment, despite her strange position and her rictus, she's having a delightful time. An ecstatically delightful time.
Do I know of any spells that cause that?
It seems clear to you that she must be charmed, maybe poisoned, but poison doesn't necessarily generate, at least as far as you know, an effect like this. Ironbound might know more. He said he knows more about poison, as does Clark, who seems to be standing there just looking forward into open space.
But he's not... the look on his face isn't the same as it is on that halfling girl's face, is it? Or?
It looks like happiness, which is also a very strange look for Clark.
Yeah. So he's probably like...
Clark has looked happy. He's usually killing somebody. But
Well, not usually just standing there.
no,
not
he's usually
casually.
busy killing
Not
somebody.
casually happy.
Yeah.
and what's next to
A
Clark?
few more seconds pass by, and you can start to see that your form is starting to solidify pretty strongly. Nothing next to Clark. There's just these couple of rows of people sitting on rocks, and as you're standing there, you see distinctly now, only about 20 feet away, as the tentacles come reaching out of the hole and grab onto one of them and drag them away. And the instant they are dragged away, it's as though the eyes go from glassy to sudden realization, and they let out a small cry as the tentacle crosses over their mouths and drags them back roughly into the hole.
I'm gonna try to get Clark's attention, like him back to reality.
Make a perception check at disadvantage.
Certainly. 16, I'll take it. 24?
24. Your sister's standing in front of you patiently, looking at you proudly. Others now from the ranks are starting to come around, and they're starting to surround you, and a chant begins. And you feel this chant in your blood. This is a chant of celebration. This is a chant of a warrior coming back. Something that your parents, your father didn't really understand, but your mother had talked a little bit about, and your sister, the bits of times you talked to her, knew all about. And as they're standing there, and they're kind of chanting and stomping their feet and making noise in rhythm, throughout all of this, there's this strange wisp of a figure that sort of crosses over your eyes, and you're looking at it kind of strangely. It's making sound. It looks familiar to you, but Zacchus shouldn't be here. You've just returned home. Your real home, where you were always meant to be. And he shouldn't be there. Make another wisdom saving throw.
Sure. Disadvantage or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. With disadvantage, that would be a 7.
You shake your head, and while it's there, it's clearly just... you haven't slept. Something you ate. It's just distracting. It's not making any sense. What is Kuzumaya doing?
Solidifying, I guess.
Okay. Clark seems to notice you for a second, and then shake his... Well, actually doesn't shake his head. He's incapacitated. But then kind of look through you, as if not seeing you anymore. You are now solid.
I cast Dispel Magic. Or, no. Nope, that's not a good idea. Never mind. I don't do that.
Clark's form is nearly solid.
Okay. I'm going to wait till he's solid. I'm going to currently use my bonus action and turn into an air elemental.
Okay.
Actually,
go from
we've
being
established that
wind-
air can grapple air because you've done this to me.
True. Okay.
So I will grapple him.
He's kind of halfway between air, but sure, you can give it a try.
I mean, he's incapacitated, so he can't.
His form is weirdly mutable at the moment. He's kind of half air, half solid, which actually makes it a little easier in some ways to grab him.
You established that you could grapple air elementals.
All right.
So.
Make a grapple check. It's with advantage. It's more or less to see how thoroughly you can grapple him.
That's a natural 16. I don't know the stats of an air elemental off the top of my head, but I believe that that's a positive.
It's most likely positive. As you kind of wrap yourself around Clark, or how are you grappling him? How do you want to grapple him?
Like, basically like I would for a whirlwind, only I'm going to try to pull him away.
Okay, so you're basically wrapping yourself around this semi-substantial form of Clark. Make a perception check with disadvantage.
Sure. Can I roll dice?
Yeah, it's a +2.
Disadvantage.
You're looking over as the form of Elzara, familiar to you, kind of envelops, and you hear from behind you the sound of the tentacles reaching out once more, and another person is grabbed and cries this time, much more palpably. All of you hear suddenly the sound of someone crying as a young man is grabbed and torn. He's actually got a nasty-looking yellow scar along one arm that's twisted and almost deformed.
I have faith in Clark.
How did you do?
15.
15? Okay. Again, there's this strange whistling of wind around you, and you can feel it buffeting your hair and buffeting your form, which is now sort of semi-solid, like waking from a dream. And then you're surrounded by wind. Make a wisdom saving throw. No disadvantage this time.
All right. 18.
18.
Woo!
As you look and see the vision of your sister twist with the wind and vanish, and now you see ahead of you rows of people that are sitting down solidly, and you're confused and fully solid.
I'm going to see that he's moving.
He definitely feels solid now.
He feels solid.
Having a little hard time catching your breath as this wind is just literally vortexing around you.
It's really hard not to make a joke. Just saying.
So?
Does he seem to be moving at all?
Slowly, kind of like waking from a dream. You can see small teardrops falling on the edges of his eyes.
More than
your
the people
eyes
over
feel
there?
sore. Definitely, they're not moving at all.
Cool.
At this point,
I drop him.
Kuzumaya, you are now solid.
I will dash towards them because I'm 150 feet away. So
Okay.
I'll go near them and out of reach of the tentacles, and fuck it, I'll be solid too because everybody
No,
else.
I'll say, Zacchus, don't. You have the item.
All right.
So as you start
Go
moving
up.
forward, and she says
sees me,
in this
like,
weird,
landing.
this weird
Primordial.
hollow air voice that only you understand. No, don't. You watch from behind her as emerging from the cave now is the tentacles, followed by a very large-looking beast. And we won't be able to get to this combat this week, but it appears to be something with multiple tentacles with large pseudopods on the end, one of which you'd seen before that had grappled across a person's face. The pseudopods themselves are spiked on the end. The body itself, I gotta stop saying itself, the body seems to be made almost like a combination of mud and smoke, but with a gaping maw that emerges from the hole as it emerges into the space. And we'll pick up next week with you fighting this strange creature, or possibly just running away, but there are other people that are still a victim to this thing.
Yep.
So, because I don't really want to get into combat at this particular moment, because we're 10 to 8 at the moment. That was kind of cool. Didn't see the windwalking coming. I should always see windwalking coming.
Always see it. Just not in combat. We've learned from Critical Role's mistakes.
It's true.
Learn from Killis' mistakes.
We are currently done for the evening. I want to thank you all for playing. Thank you for the patience of watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If people enjoyed this, how could people reach out and say they enjoyed this?
You can like our Facebook page and join our Facebook group. It's Legend of the Drowned Isles for the page and Watchers of the Drowned Isles for the group. And we do some talking there, and we announce when we film and all that fun stuff. So.
And if people like the video, what can they do?
If you watched us on YouTube, please hit the like button and the bell so you can get further confirmations about how awesome we are in our further videos down the line.
And subscribe so the bell works.
And to make sure that you get those notifications, please subscribe.
And I would ask that if you do enjoy this, please share with us, but also share with others. We'd love to have other people joining in our home game, that it becomes kind of a bigger home. How's that? I'm Mark the Encaffeinated One. Thanks to all of my players. Thanks to you, and have a good night.
See ya.
Always see you in vlog.